Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a huge update regarding the situation with Greenland. I'm going to be giving everyone a completely non-biased political breakdown on what's going on. We've got JD Vance doing another Sunday interview that happened yesterday, saying that yes, the United States needs Greenland. Marco Rubio said it's going to happen. You've got other stuff going on with Panama that's going to be discussed as well. But guys, when it comes to this situation with Greenland, why is Denmark being so nasty to Donald Trump and to the United States? We did not ask for this. They've come out now with a poll and they're saying we're more of a threat to Denmark than Iran and North Korea. It is completely unacceptable. And there's going to be some bad things that happen because of the way Denmark is acting right now. I mean, this is absurd. They're going to sit there and say we're more of a threat than North Korea. And it's like, you know, the dynamic of it is Greenland doesn't even want to be owned by Denmark, and JD Vance says that. So let's see what JD Vance has to say here. And, you know, he's basically explaining to everyone why the United States needs Greenland, and they've been told not to mention the natural resources. You don't say it's for natural resources because it makes you look bad. So, but let's just see what JD Vance has to say here.
Do you expect the U.S. to acquire Greenland?
I think it's possible, Maria. So here's the thing that I think a lot of folks don't appreciate about Greenland. It's really important to our national security. There are sea lanes there that the Chinese use, that the Russians use, that frankly, Denmark, which controls Greenland, it's not doing its job and it's not being a good ally.
But it's not even just the dynamic of them not doing anything about this. They can't. They're not a strong enough country, right? You look at Greenland, they can very easily be taken advantage of by Russia or China if they're owned by Denmark rather than if they're owned by the United States with all of our resources and all of our military might. So it just comes down to even a dynamic thing when you've got a territory, an island, a massive island. It makes so much more sense for the United States, who can offer the island more resources and more investment just by sheer money with our GDP. We can make a significantly stronger investment into Greenland than Denmark currently is doing. Right now, Greenland is costing Denmark money. I'm not sure. My best guess here is that Denmark's like, all right, we know we're going to lose Greenland to the United States or they're going to become independent, but let's do this whole thing where we posture and act like Greenland is part of our own, you know, and even though in 2009 they signed an agreement to where Greenland became basically independent outside of just military, and obviously they only have 57,000 people, so somebody has to watch over Greenland. But I think a lot of this is posture to say, oh, we still love Greenland, and they just really want to deal with the United States, and Greenland's trying to extort us, basically. It's understandable, actually. We understand you want to make money off of it. We get it. It is your territory. If you're going to give up the territory, you want to get something in return. But the problem is a lot of normies think, oh, this is such a terrible infraction. No, you have to understand the dynamics. Greenland wants to be independent in general. And so for that, you would say, well, then why is Denmark doing this? Why are they getting so angry about the United States acquiring a territory that doesn't even want to be a part of them? And then on the other hand, you would say, well, doesn't that make America kind of evil if we want to acquire Greenland, but they want to be independent? Well, no, because they need somebody, you know, to give them significant money to keep them afloat. They take about a third of their GDP comes from subsidiaries. Well, no, because the dynamics with Greenland, based on its climate and its geographical location, it's isolated. They need somebody to help them out. They rely right now on Denmark. They get about a third of their GDP from Denmark. And so they would need someone. So you really cannot be independent. Now, I have said for a while, my thought is that if you are Greenland in this situation, the best thing to do would to try and become independent from Denmark. Do that, you know, as soon as possible. And then you have options. But the number one option is to get in bed with the United States. It just makes the most sense. Now, if Greenland still wants to be independent, they would very likely pursue some type of economic relationship with the United States to where the United States has some type of military exclusive partnership. They can develop more military bases on the island. You have to secure the island, 57,000 people. you're really exposing yourself, even though the climate there is to where you're probably not going to see an invasion from a foreign adversary, but it's always possible. So you do some type of military deal, and then you would also do a mining deal, which would bring more jobs and more high quality jobs to Greenland's economy. And you would also get, if you are Greenland, you'd work out a deal with the United States to where the amount of natural resources they get extracted, most of them are going to go to the United States because we're making the investment in terms of infrastructure and the mining capability. All of that's coming from the U.S. So we're making a monetary investment into developing the proper structure in Greenland to be able to mine all the natural resources along the coastline. But then Denmark would say, all right, we'll just give us like 1% or whatever. And you'd work out a deal to where you could actually get something for your land. Right now, they can't get anything because Denmark does not have the money or the capability to mine the natural resources in Greenland. The United States does. Greenland certainly does not either. They have 57,000 people. They don't have enough people. They don't have enough money to do that. So this is why it makes so much sense for the United States to acquire it. If I'm Greenland, I'm trying to, as soon as possible, become independent with Denmark. And then, again, this is to where it comes down to, well, is it going to be an economic partnership or are they going to be a territory of the United States? And the people of Greenland have to understand Europe is really trying to manipulate them into this horrible, like, oh, if you become part of America, that's terrible, and you don't want to be American, when we've got territories. We don't even talk about Puerto Rico. Nobody really considers Puerto Rico part of America. Puerto Rico has an amazing situation. They've got very low taxes because they're a territory, but they also do have American support, and they get money from the United States. It's an amazing situation to be in, to be a territory. And that's exactly what Greenland will be, is a territory, because they don't have the population to become a state. And even if they did, it would take years. Just look at Puerto Rico. They'd have 14 electoral votes, but they're not going to become a state. So I'm sorry, let's just listen to what Vance has to say here.
So you have to ask yourself, how are we going to solve that problem, solve our own national security? If that means that we need to take more territorial interest in Greenland, that is what President Trump is going to do, because he doesn't care about what the Europeans scream at us. He cares about putting the interests of America's citizens first. There's another angle to this whole Greenland thing, Maria, that people don't realize. You've got probably 55,000 people living on Greenland who are not actually happy with Danish government. They've got great natural resources there. They've got an incredibly bountiful country that the Danes aren't letting them develop and explore. Of course, Donald Trump would take a different approach if he...
Well, it's not so much they just can't invest into the country. They don't have a big enough economy themselves to do it. Denmark, I mean. So, yeah, and the United States would certainly allow them to do, in terms of mining and taking advantage of their natural resources. The United States would certainly allow Greenland to do that, and the U.S. would also get a significant cut of that, of course, most of it. And, I mean, it's trillions of dollars in natural resources, and that's just along the coast. Imagine what happens when you start getting the glacier melt. It's going to be pretty insane. So, Vance is 100% right, but, I just systematically explained why it makes... And then let's just get to this. This is disgusting. This is absolutely absurd. Not North Korea, not Iran. Danes see U.S. as bigger threat amid Greenland row, according to a poll. 1,000 people polled in Denmark. They participated. 46% consider the U.S. to be either a very big threat or a fairly big threat, which is interesting. Well, actually, this poll was not properly... And the poll was kind of manipulated. I thought the poll was going to be, who do you consider the biggest threat? And the choices were the United States, North Korea, Iran, Russia. But the poll is a little bit different than what I thought it was going to be. So, and so this is a little bit more understandable, honestly, because they think they're going to lose their territory to the United States, so they think we're the number one biggest threat. But again, they have to understand right now, even the people in Denmark, they're being manipulated by their own government into caring about a territory that they really haven't invested much money into. And honestly, the territory loses them money. So, and I understand why the Danish government would do that. The whole idea is we need to act like we love Greenland, so when we do part with it, we get a lot for it. And you're extorting the United States here. You're trying to get money out of the U.S. The reality is, the dynamics of it is Greenland does not want to be a part of Denmark. So, like, what are we supposed to do with this? The idea that these people would be like, how dare you? Well, how dare you? You own a territory that those people don't want to be a part of. They do not want to be owned by you. There's been public opinion polls, many different polls. And I'm not saying right now that Greenland wants to be owned by the United States, but it seems very obvious that there's going to have to be some serious financial investment from the United States, because right now the people of Greenland are not living the best quality of life when it comes to the development of their infrastructure, because Denmark doesn't have the money to develop it. The United States does, so we can help them. And maybe for Greenland, it's all about posturing as well. Like if they're going to go into an economic relationship with the United States to where Greenland becomes a U.S. territory, they're going to want to negotiate significant financial investment into the area. And also they're going to want some money for their natural resources. Now that's all going to be negotiated, I'm sure. But I think a lot of this is probably Denmark trying to get something for Greenland. And this is just the politics of it, basically. So that's what I would imagine. But yeah, them saying we're a huge threat and stuff. What is Denmark's opinion? What are the people of Denmark's opinion on ruling over a territory that wants to be independent from you? Because that's the dynamics right now. And then you say, well, they couldn't exist. Well, then that's why the United States, we can offer them so much more in terms of everything, military protection, investment, infrastructure upgrades, getting something for the natural resources there, being able to extract them than Denmark can. And it's not even Denmark's fault. They've just got a much smaller economy than us. They can't spend that type of money on a territory that's not even connected to your country. And then this is a very interesting part of this survey. Another aspect was that a majority of those who were a part of the survey opposed Greenland being sold to the U.S. However, at least 72% agreed that the final decision should reside in the hands of Greenland and not Denmark. And if that happened, then again, Denmark keeps Greenland afloat. They give them money. So if Greenlanders are saying, no, we don't want to be a part of Denmark, how are you going to improve you would just be making your own life significantly worse by not staying a part of Denmark. So the logic doesn't make much sense. That's why the United States needs to swoop in and say, we can offer you so much more. And that's how the deal is going to get done, with the United States acquiring Greenland. So either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.